John Wilkes Booth, actor or actor-assassin. Mostly that last one, but that comes later. Booth's parents, a Shakespearean actor, and his mistress, scandalous, moved to America from England in 1821 to a farm near Bel Air, Maryland, where Booth was born as the 9th of 10 children. Growing up, he was athletic and popular. Basically, not most of us. He was even skilled at horse riding and fencing, so really not most of us. He attended Bel Air Academy, but wasn't that interested in learning. The headmaster once noted that he was, quote, not deficient in intelligence, but disinclined to take advantage of the educational opportunities offered him. So he's definitely not me. See, I was just dumb, and while he was kind of smart, he just didn't like acting smart. This will come up later. While at Milton boarding school, Booth met a Romani fortune teller, and their meeting went something like this. Oh, magic fortune teller, what do you see? You're gonna die early. Tell me more. While being told you're going to die early would probably suck, Booth, as we'll find out, would later do almost everything he could to make it happen. As a teen, Booth gained an interest in acting. His first debut was at the Baltimore Charles Street Theater, where in 1855 he played the Earl of Richmond in Richard III. There, the audience jeered at him for messing up his lines. Now, I know what you're thinking. Couldn't be me. However, Booth would experience greater success by playing his parts with an impressive amount of enthusiasm, making him the apple of the audience's eye. During an 1858 play, instead of saying, Madam, I am Petruchio Pandolfo, he stammered, Madam, I am Pandolfio Pentuchio Pet, damn it, who am I? Splitting the audience's sides. See, this guy had it. Booth was a very busy man in 1858, performing in 83 plays, and of all the Shakespearean characters he played, he said that his favorite role was Brutus. You know, that guy who betrayed and stabbed Caesar? Yeah. Anyway, Booth, being kinda good-looking, was a big draw for the ladies, and by the close of the 1850s, he was earning $20,000 a year, equivalent to $700,000 in 2024. Interestingly enough, in October 1860, while performing in Columbus, Georgia, Booth was accidentally shot in his hotel. It didn't kill him, but maybe it should've. Booth was very opposed to abolitionism, so much so that he personally attended the execution of a certain hairy man following the raid on Harper's Ferry. With the beginning of the Civil War in 1861, Booth, performing in Albany, New York at the time, called the Confederacy's secession heroic. This didn't go down so well with the locals, who called for him to be banned from stage for treasonable statements. An actor saying controversial stuff that divides his fan base? Guess nothing really changed in 160 years, am I right? Between September and November 1863, as men were fighting and dying in their thousands, Booth was busy engaging in a hectic acting tour and opening up really thirsty fan mail. After a family friend, John T. Ford, opened his 1,500-seat Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., Booth was one of the first leading men to appear there on stage, playing in Charles Selby's The Marble Heart. During the performance, up above, President Abraham Lincoln was watching. At one point, Booth shook his finger in Lincoln's direction while delivering a line. Lincoln's sister-in-law, who was sitting with him, said, Mr. Lincoln, it looks as if he meant that for you. The president replied, He does look pretty sharp at me, doesn't he? Yes, Abe. Yes, he does. In 1864, as things went south for the South, the likelihood that Lincoln would win his re-election became high. Booth didn't like that. He got in contact with Confederate agents and began brewing up a plan to kidnap Lincoln. Lincoln ended up winning a landslide re-election that year on a platform advocating for abolishing slavery altogether, and Booth was like, nuh-uh. Booth attended Lincoln's second inauguration on March 4th. Stalker much? And on April 11th, Booth was in the crowd outside the White House when Lincoln gave an impromptu speech basically saying, hey, maybe slaves are people. And Booth was like, nuh-uh. Booth's kidnap scheme fell apart with the Union's capture of Richmond and Lee's surrender, and he changed his plan to assassination. On the morning of April 14th, 1865, as Booth went to Ford's Theater to get his mail, he was told by John Ford's brother that the president and his wife would be attending the play Our American Cousin there that evening. Booth slipped into Lincoln's box at around 10:14 p.m., and as the play progressed, he shot the president in the back of the head. He also stabbed the nearby Major Henry Rathbone when he tried to stop him, before jumping down to the stage and injuring his leg. There, he shouted the famous words, Sic semper tyrannis, Latin for, thus always to tyrants, before fleeing the scene, leaving hundreds bewildered and a president on death's door. After the assassination, Booth fled on a getaway horse into southern Maryland. Federal troops soon followed his trail, as the War Department sent out a $100,000 reward, $2.05 million in 2025, for information leading to Booth's arrest. As the news of the president's death spread, Booth remained in hiding. All the while, he read accounts of the mourning taking place around the nation, and was surprised at how little public sympathy he received. Who would have thought killing a president would make you kind of unpopular? Booth eventually sheltered at Richard H. Garrett's farm near Port Royal, Virginia, under the guise of a wounded Confederate soldier. He was with them when they learned of Lincoln's assassination and the reward for his capture. It probably went something like this. So, you think you'd turn that guy in if you got the chance? Maybe. We need the money. Even if it was me? What? On April 26th, Lieutenant Edward P. Doherty, having been dispatched from Washington with a detachment of 26 Union soldiers, tracked Booth to the Garrett's tobacco barn. Booth's partner surrendered, but Booth was like, "Nuh-uh," and the soldiers were like, "Yeah-huh," before proceeding to set the barn on fire. As Booth moved within the flames, he was shot in the neck and paralyzed. He was dragged outside, where he died 3 hours later of asphyxiation. While most Northerners viewed Booth as a murderer of the savior of the Union, in the South, many cursed Booth for bringing upon them the harsh revenge of the North instead of Lincoln's promised reconciliation. And somewhere in the middle of all this, a Romani fortune teller shook her head in a disappointed "I told you so."